Tyler Hall. How you doing?
Good.
Okay, this is the very first time meeting you.
Yes, correct.
And we have a mutual friend.
Mutual friend. Yep.
Maybe mutual friends, plural.
I would say so. So, yep.
And you are the local owner of Nutrition HQ in Quincy. Where is that?
Yeah, so Nutrition HQ in Quincy's over by Hy-Vee on Broadway. And you're right, man, I've owned it for 6 years. I've ran it for almost 10 years while time's flying by. So, and I've been around nutrition, supplements, the health field pretty much my whole life, going back to when I was a little kid. My dad used to own GNCs. So my parents are split up, and I would go visit him in the summer and pretty much just hang out in the back of the store all day when I visited him. We even had like a dart board. We'd play darts in between customers. So, way back then, I remember one summer I was so excited because he got real busy and I helped this particular customer just find calcium. I thought it was the coolest thing though. I kind of took over and handled the person myself.
So, okay, interesting. So the GNC.
Correct.
I remember, okay. So I'm 47. How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay, do you remember the creatine? Well, is the creatine craze still going on?
Yeah, so creatine's ramped way up again, specifically creatine monohydrate. There's just a lot of stuff coming out for overall health. Like it's known for like muscle building, fitness, strength, but really a lot of stuff. There's cognitive benefits coming out. We're selling a ton of that, and not us pushing it. It's just word of mouth. I think at one point, to put this in perspective, we would sell a couple containers a week, and now I bet we're selling 10 containers a day.
Goodness. Can you go down, this could be a rabbit hole that we could go down here if we talked about some of the items, some of your best-selling items, because you and I are going to dig into maybe some nutrition philosophy, maybe some things that Quincyans or really the Tri-State area, everywhere that Muddy River can reach out to kind of explain to people about ways they can improve their dietary habits and nutrition in general.
Yeah.
Can you run down a couple things in your store that you either sell a lot of, or maybe some hidden secrets that you have in your store that somebody might not know about that they can go in and get healthier?
Yeah, so a little bit about us, I think people look at Nutrition HQ or used to look at us as a muscle building store, and we're really just like so much more than that. We're really just helping everyday people, like me and my wife. I own a business, we're busy, we have a wild kid, we want to have more kids, so trying to keep up with him. People like my mom, my mom's busy, she has 4 kids, she's just looking to have more energy, just feel better. I mean, we cover all spectrums, people wanting to help with their immune system, of course, weight loss, muscle building, just general health. And, number one product, if people listen to this, if they've been in the store, they're probably going to recognize it. It's a product called TB16. And really what this thing does is it's just great for energy, okay? So with more energy, people are moving more, burning more calories. It helps fight cravings, so it can help reduce people's portions, okay, or kind of minimize snacks. What that's doing is kind of helping create that calorie deficit, which helps keep weight or keep their calories in check so they don't put on unwanted weight. And then people just feel good on it, okay? So I have some people that come in and use it to help aid in weight loss, but then a lot of people are just like, hey, I've quit drinking soda, I've got off energy drinks. I mean, they've used it for a variety of reasons, just helps them get through their day. And boy, that product is by far our number one product. A particular guy, he owns stores in Sioux Falls, Sioux City. He's the one that kind of introduced me to that and kind of talked about it. And he's been almost like a mentor to me. And really, he just showed me the value in it when he started talking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody, who doesn't want more energy? Who doesn't want to maybe kick some cravings here and there? And I'm like, it just is a good fit for everybody.
You said it's called TB16?
Yep, TB16.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you familiar with TB12?
I am. So I've had a couple people come in and go, hey, do you think he's going to get in trouble for this? Copyright? I'm like, you know what? I've never thought about that. So
I'm, of course, talking about Tom Brady and his brand of TB12 because he's number 12 when he was playing for the NFL, right? That's just kind of a funny thing. So for the TB16, so you are not here to talk about TB16. This is not a promotional for TB16. But what we're doing right now is just talking kind of about your business and kind of some fun stuff if you're looking to get rid of some of those cravings and a boost of energy. Is it a stimulant? Is there any? Do you remember the old chromium picolinates and the all the stimulants that GNC would sell back in the day to kind of? It's kind of like when I drink coffee in the morning. I don't know about you, but when I drink coffee in the morning, I can prolong the amount of time that I need food.
Oh yeah, for sure. Caffeine, a lot of products like this have some form of stimulant in there. And there's a bunch of different stimulants. This one does have a base of caffeine. And, we all look at caffeine for energy, but, I look at it all as, almost a performance enhancer, as long as you don't overdo it, okay? So more energy, better focus, but then also very good for fighting cravings. So it can help with the appetite suppressant, especially being in conjunction with some other ingredients. So TB is built around caffeine. Yep.
It is built around caffeine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot more going on in it, but caffeine's a base in there. So.
Okay, good. What is your opinion on fasting? So it just so happens, it's Valentine's Day.
Yep.
And it's also Ash Wednesday for all of the people out there that like to go into kind of personal, like self-deprivation, delaying self-gratification. And that's a lot of what Ash Wednesday is about. We started, we started from dust, and to dust we shall return. And being alive and having good nutrition is fighting against that. It's kind of like fighting against the law of entropy. The law of entropy being that everything does fall to dust. And that's what kind of this day is about. So ironically, you and I are like trying to punch up on it and do things for ourselves to give us more energy to kind of extend our lives. What is your general feelings on fasting?
Yeah. So it's a great question, and a little background about me. I have a nutrition certification. So, I went to school for business, but, as I got into this, I wanted to kind of add something additional. So I took a class called Precision Nutrition, which takes nutrition and, and meshes together, hey, sometimes we know what to do, but it's easier said than done. So psychology with it. But they talk about everything, fasting, plant-based diet, meat-based diet, and they just kind of give their take on all of them. But where I'm circling around to fasting, I think fasting is great. The reason why I like it so much, though, is it essentially creates a smaller window for people to eat so they can't overconsume, which can lead to a calorie surplus. Now, there's a ton of other benefits, and I'm a pretty straight shooter if you get to know me. If I don't know about something, I'll kind of say, hey, I haven't really dove into that. I hear a lot of people talk about, like, I believe it's the shell shedding and a lot of different things with the cells, and maybe misspeaking here, but I know there's some other benefits people talk about. I don't know if I've sold on those, but I'm not sold on them, if that makes sense. I'm pretty indifferent. But when it comes to fasting and when I talk about it, I like it for the simple fact you have a smaller window to eat, okay? So you're just less likely to overconsume. Another reason I like fasting, for me in general, I like to just get up and go, okay? So if I can get up and go, I don't have to worry about food. I feel like when I get up and go, sometimes in the morning, if I eat something, it can slow me down a little bit. So I like the fact of just getting up and going and kind of worrying about lunch a little later.
I got to make this quick joke about breakfast. So I made this claim a while back that most people don't know what breakfast is. And so this idea of they're breaking a fast. So breakfast, of course, is when you're sleeping, you're not eating.
Yep.
And if you're going through, stage 3 and 4 REM, when you're sleeping, you are somewhat paralyzed. You cannot eat, right? And digestion slows down and things like that. When you wake up, that circadian rhythm gets kicked in back into gear, and you have an opportunity to break that fast. And I like to talk about breakfast in terms of the very first meal of the day that you eat, no matter what time it is breaking the fast.
Yep.
So some people think that breakfast is only in the morning, or it's only eggs and bacon.
Yes.
Or if you're having breakfast at dinner time after you've already had 2 meals, that's impossible. And some people say, well, I never eat breakfast. And I go, well, that's impossible because you'd be dead.
Yes,
so,
yes, I see what you're saying.
So do you have any kind of nutrition bars? Do you have anything in your store of good things to eat, like pop into a bag, high protein, low sugar? Do you have anything like that in your store?
Yeah. So actually, I brought this here. And I have a bunch of stuff. We have bars, but I think of a lot of times when I do stuff first time thing in the morning, it's some kind of form of protein drink. Okay. This is Jocko's.
I'm so happy about this.
They call it Mulk, and I've latched on him. I read, what book am I drawing a blank on? Extreme Ownership, and and I've heard about him obviously just in the fitness industry. But that's his particular product, and Jocko's kind of taken a stance in the industry to be more of a cleaner product, and I say clean in quotations because that can be interpreted different ways. But what I mean by that is, going for a grass-fed protein, okay, then you get into the sweeteners. So he uses stevia and I believe monk fruit as his sweeteners.
Yeah, monk fruit.
And going theoretically for a shorter label, those taste pretty darn good, but that's something high protein. I think there's probably less than 5 grams of sugar in there.
I mean, not even. Total sugars are 2 grams.
Yeah. So that'd be something great. It's on the go. You just shake it up, go. When you get into anything, I call these ready to drink. So they always just kind of taste better too. They're already pre-made. Now we have some powders. I use a lot of powders at my store, and I'll throw those just in a shaker bottle and shake them up. But yeah, that right there's a great option.
This is even better than the protein bar, in my opinion, because you can get it down faster. It's easily digestible. You can take something like this on long hikes. It doesn't look like to me that it's necessarily a meal replacement supplement, but it definitely is. Man, it's got 30 grams of protein.
Yep, it's loaded up with protein, and you're spot on. We have a lot of people that go for just a protein in the morning, and from a meal standpoint, is that really a complete meal? Probably lacking, but at the same token, you're at least getting some protein to start your day. And this is going to contradict what I say about fasting a little bit. So I think fasting is great, but on this flip side, one thing I will say, if you don't maybe have something in the morning, for some people what I see is when they skip that morning meal, then it causes this increased appetite later on, okay? And then they overconsume or they make a poor decision if they don't have stuff planned out. So you really got to understand what works best for you, if you ask me. But, starting out, I like people to start with a protein in the morning.
So we should tell people what Jocko means. So he wrote that book. Well, he wrote a series of books. I mean, so it's not just the extreme ownership, but Jocko Willink, I think that's how you say his last name. Yep. And he's kind of been a staple inside the intellectual dark web. And he's been on Rogan.
Yep.
And he's just one of those super tough guys. He's kind of like a more refined David Goggins.
Yep. That's a good way to describe him.
So this looks really cool. How much are one of these?
So we sell those in store for $3.99.
Wow, that's good.
We do price breaks, if people buy in bulk, but $3.99 is what we do those for.
It's truly amazing that you can get 30 grams of this stuff for $4 and with no sugar, 180 calories. It's really great. So in a few minutes here, we're going to go ahead and take a break. What we're going to do is we're going to hear from our sponsor from A&B Properties. And while we're doing that, Tyler what did you bring? You brought a machine.
Yeah, so it's called the Ninja Creamy, and it can make ice cream, okay? But really why I latched onto it is you can make healthier versions of ice cream. So I've got a high protein ice cream. It's almost 40 grams of protein per the whole pint, okay? And it's lower calorie, which is super cool. So I thought, hey, this would be fun to kind of bring down and spin. As a matter of fact, last night I spoke at Hannibal Regional Hospital into the bariatric support group, which is weight loss surgery. And I took it down there and made them protein ice cream because a super important thing going through that surgery is getting enough protein in to maintain their muscle mass while they're in those calorie deficits and losing weight. And it was a huge hit. So
I love that.
Really cool machine.
Well, let's do that. While you're getting it together, we'll break and hear from A&B Properties.
A&B Properties is Quincy's largest apartment rental company with hundreds of units available. They offer short-term and long-term rentals with 1 up to 4 bedroom apartments. A&B Properties meets the needs of its tenants with care, compassion, and a quality of service that exceeds expectations. A&B Properties also has a convenient tenant app for you to do your payments or make repair requests. Give them a call today. A&B Properties, 217-919-8080, Quincy.
We are back. Okay, so good. So, Tyler, I saw you take that machine It says Ninja on it.
Yep.
What is that exactly?
Yeah, so you guys have probably seen like the Ninja air fryer. Actually, I love nutrition. I'm always trying to eat healthy, but I love pizza. And I got a pizza oven from Ninja this year for Christmas. But this particular thing's called the Ninja Creamy, and it makes ice cream. And this is a protein ice cream. You can make sherbets with it too, but usually I go for the ice cream.
How many grams of protein?
There's almost 40 grams of protein in a whole pint here. So,
all right, I'm going to taste it.
What do you think?
It's amazing. Now, you said that you could do cookies and cream, but I mean, don't do it now because I'm gonna eat all this.
Yeah,
this is super good.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of variations
amazing.
of recipes with these.
Oh my gosh.
And, this particular one, I just left it vanilla. But, the other night when I made it, I took a little bit of Oreo Thins just in moderation and put a couple. They have a feature called Mix In where you can mix in and make essentially a blizzard. And it's pretty cool that way. It kind of spices stuff up.
So I really, really like it. And I'm not just saying that. I really like it. So this is kind of shocking. It tastes like it has a lot of sugar in it, but it probably doesn't, right?
No, there's less than 10 grams in there of sugar, which is super cool. And I could even make that minimal. So like this Jocko here, I haven't tried this, but a lot of people will put this in those. What I essentially did to make that super easy recipe, I did like, let's see, I think it's a cup of almond milk unsweetened, a cup of Fairlife milk, which is just that lactose-free milk with higher protein, a scoop of protein powder, 5 grams of stevia, and then actually the sugar-free Jell-O pudding. You can get these kind of all over, but Walmart has this particular flavor, white chocolate pudding, and use just a couple grams of that, and boy, it's great. It doesn't take much.
Okay. It kind of tastes like TCBY's white chocolate mousse. A little bit.
That is a good description.
This is excellent. This is super good. Thank you so much for making that.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. I love this thing.
That's really
I'm always
exciting.
using it. As a matter of fact, we had an event over the store in the summer, and this is what we made protein ice cream. I had a couple recipes. We did Chunky Monkey, which that was probably the favorite at the event. But boy, there's all kinds of fun stuff out there with this piece of equipment.
Okay, so it's called the Ninja Creamy?
Yep.
Okay, so my wife and I have a Ninja coffee maker, and that thing's pretty cool. I don't think it makes ice cream. Pretty sure it doesn't. So that thing spins like crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So anybody who wants to make their own homemade, super healthy ice cream, I got to tell you, it tastes so good. It tastes like it's bad for you. That's how good it is.
It's crazy when you see this thing, and the way you do these is you make it the night before. It's got to freeze for 24 hours, but you essentially have all these pints, and you can buy extra ones. And, you can do unhealthy ice cream, too. I haven't played around with that yet, but I thought about as my son gets older, we'd just make a bunch of different random variations. And
how old is your son?
He's 2.5, and boy, he is full of energy. So
yeah, because you're feeding him all the good stuff.
And he loves sweet stuff, too. So
do you keep him away from the TB16?
Yes. I would be in the doghouse if I gave him TB16 with my wife because he's already got enough energy.
That's amazing. So you brought something else here, too. This is another product that you guys procure. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, this is called. Well, hey, we'll crack this open. You guys can try it.
Crack it open.
This is so I'm sure people have heard of Quest. Quest makes a bunch of protein bars, all kinds of different things. Well, this company in Quest made a chip. Well, this is a competitor. Go ahead and you can dive in there, but that's high protein. There's 20 grams of protein per the whole bag. It's low carb, low fat. So if you're just really trying to get more protein in, I mean, these things are great. And if you're a big chip person, which I am, it's a great alternative. These have a little bit different texture than Quest. They're almost like a rice cake, okay? So pretty interesting. And I think the protein sources are, I believe, a whey and, and then a casein. Casein will be a slower digesting protein. As a matter of fact, that Ninja Creamy that I made, I like to use casein in there when I cook a lot of recipes.
Casein, does it usually mean milk-based product?
So, yeah, it'll be milk-based, but the reason why I kind of land on casein is it's slower digesting, okay? And it mixes up a little thicker. It just seems to set better, like if you're baking with it or, something like the creamy. And
it's got the brown rice protein in it. Man, I can't find anything bad in here. This is, because I'm going to try one of these. So 20 grams of protein for the whole bag. So this is really neat, man. During the apocalypse, people are going to raid your store.
Yeah. Yeah,
These are excellent.
it's something too. You see a lot of people do with. I can't say the legendary. This is a newer one, but the Quest.
Super good.
I'm sure you've had a walk-in taco before, right?
I have, yeah.
Cut the Dorito bag open. Well, the Quest makes a taco flavor, and we'll have a lot of people make walking tacos. So when it comes to nutrition and me, I'm not a person that's like, hey, you got to eat super restrictive. I just a lot of times I'm looking for a better take on some of our favorite stuff, and this is stuff I kind of go for, like the Ninja Creamy, making a walking taco out of the Quest chips versus regular chips.
So in your diet, at the very beginning of the podcast, you were talking about plant-based diet,
Yeah.
meat-based diet. Do you know who Jordan Peterson is?
Yeah, I enjoy. I really like listening to him.
Oh my gosh, he's just and he's getting a little feisty lately. But I really like listening to him. His daughter Michaela is fun to listen to as well. Of course, in the spirit of Canada, they're hilarious to listen to. One of the things that he did in terms of, are you aware about how he changed his diet?
He went on the carnivore, I'm pretty sure.
He
right?
did.
Yeah.
Well, so this is kind of controversial, and I would not necessarily recommend everybody come strip away every single thing out of their life and go straight carnivore, like only meat.
Yeah.
But it was the only thing that fixed all of his problems. So he was dying, and his wife had a severe illness as well, and his daughter also was very ill. And I don't know if it was a hereditary thing or not, but here's one thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if you study this or not, but it seems to me that sometimes when people have dis-ease, because when we're talking in the medical profession or nutrition, we just cram the word dis and ease together, but really dis-ease is just the opposite of ease. Ease is when you're just feeling good, and when you don't feel well, you have some level of dis-ease, of course. So it seems to me that there are a number of substantiated studies and reports, peer-reviewed all the way across the board, where people feel terrible, and for 2 weeks they strip out everything, almost to the point of elimination diet.
Yeah.
Because elimination diet is a different thing altogether. That's more of when you're trying to ascertain what's hurting you.
Correct.
When you're trying to find, okay, here's what I can eat, here's what I can't eat. So anyway, Jordan Peterson, aside from him writing his books and he went to a straight meat diet where the only thing he ate, he started to do like steak and potato, and that didn't work. Then he went steak and vegetable, and that didn't work. And then he went steak only. So I am not saying people should do that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that was the only thing that fixed him, and he did that for months and months and months. I think now he is able to come back and start adding other things into his diet.
Reintroduce.
But he's relatively cured. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. No, I definitely have heard his story, and I was thinking he had some kind of autoimmune.
That's what it was.
Scenario, and I'm very familiar with that. He, because I think of the carnivore diet, and I have some friends that actually do it, and I think a lot of people just don't eat enough meat in general. But whenever I think of the carnivore diet, I always think about me just trying to eat meat for every meal. I love meat, and I'm like, I couldn't do it, man. I like too much other stuff. But from a health standpoint, you're seeing a lot of people where they have poor health markers, and then they go to this meat-based diet and they feel better, or their health markers get better. It's interesting to see.
So what about a plant-based diet? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, kind of my thought. Trickling over to the meat. Jordan would be a different scenario, but, I think of, some people jumping into the meat diet, and I'm going to say this about the plant-based diet too. When someone switches to something like that, I think they're probably being more mindful, so they're more aware of what they're consuming, which I think, going back to the calorie deficit creates that. They're getting more fresher food, less processed, more nutrient dense, more calorie dense. So I'll use a reference. There was a kid that came into town. This has probably been 7 or 8 years ago, and he was helping a local family with their nutrition, and he was a huge plant-based diet fan. Okay, and of course I eat meat, and me and him worked out together and just kind of had friendly conversation. He was really big on plant-based, and his big argument was with them. He's like, man, I started working with them. They've lost this weight. They're feeling better, and their health markers are better. And I totally agree. But he was contributing all to plant-based. But in my mind, I was kind of going through and questioning him. I'm like, well, what were they doing before? Okay. And I think, sometimes with the meat-based diet, you can make the same argument. I think these people were eating a lot of processed food, and then they went to fresh food, cooked at home, nutrient dense, less calorie dense. So I believed all the health markers were better, but, my kind of stance with his picker thing is, hey, I think they still would have done great if he still kept a little bit of meat in their diet, So, and that's where I kind of go with all these, nutrition scenarios or whatever particular diet you want to do. I think people are more aware of what they're eating, so they're making better choices. They're getting in that calorie deficit if it's more weight loss they're going for. So I think they all, have different ways they work, but they're all kind of achieving the same thing, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm not saying a calorie deficit is the be all. Of course, whatever food you're putting in your diet, like more nutrient dense food is better, less calorie dense.
Have you ever heard of this idea when you walk into a supermarket that everything on the inside of, there's a difference between walking around the perimeter of the Hy-Vee or the county market or Neiman's, or I hope I'm not leaving out anybody, but in local grocery stores, when you walk around the perimeter of the grocery store, chances are it's fresher food. Chances are it is either produce, fresh fruits and vegetables, and you get around to the like the meat section, the seafood section, the delis, not the deli in terms of not necessarily the I'm going to call them slick meats.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah, I know you're
I feel like you can't say slick meats. But really, it's like nitrite-based meats, But not everything, but as you walk your way inside the perimeter, as you move towards the center, it gets a little hairy in terms of you're getting more of your processed foods.
Correct. Processed foods, less nutrient dense. Usually, you can stack up calories pretty fast with all that stuff. And, I've heard people say that a lot, and I think it does make sense. Like, as you're talking, I'm walking myself. I go to Hy-Vee a lot around the outside of the Hy-Vee aisles, and you're right. You see, more fresh food. Going back to my nutrition class, what they kind of recommend, this is such vague advice, but just cooking at home can make a big difference, okay? Because, you're cutting stuff up. It's, theoretically be fresher. Of course, you can, there's exceptions where you can overdo it, but a lot of times just cooking food at home can put you a lot a lot better off, okay? So, and I don't mean grabbing something in those middle aisles and warming up in the microwave. I mean cutting vegetables up. And
some canned things on the inside, deep inside the center of the market is fine.
Yeah,
You've got canned beans,
Yeah.
for example, like black beans. There's 3 ingredients. It's water, salt, beans.
Yes.
I think that is kind of a different situation, or you can get actual beans and cook them yourself. You know what I like about a lot of the things that you're saying is you have a store. And you're talking about, you said something so important. You said one of the best things you can do is cook fresh, good, nutrient-dense foods at home.
Yeah.
But one thing about your store is your store offers an opportunity for people that can do that. And then once they go out in the real world, when they're running around with the kids, or if they don't have kids, maybe they're working really long hours at work.
Yeah.
They're going on vacations, or like salespeople that are in their cars all the time and they don't want to eat fast food. And let's say maybe they packed a good lunch and they've got a raw vegetable and a fruit there. These bag of chips that you have right here that are fantastic, the Legendary Foods brand, barbecue, popped protein chips, this is phenomenal. This should take the place of your normal potato chip.
Yeah, yep, definitely. And you're spot on. Like, it's all, how can what's a little bit better version than what you're currently doing, and boy, that's been an eye-opener for me the past 3 or 4 years. As the business has grown, we've had Hudson's our son's name. I realize, sometimes to do stuff, it's easier said than done. As my son's destroying our living room and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do for dinner. But, finding ways to, make stuff a little better and incorporating in some protein, or really even prioritizing protein throughout your day, it does a lot of good stuff for people. And what I mean by that is just I feel like a lot of people undereat their protein. And I'm not saying that because I sell protein items. I'm saying a lot of people, it's just hard to eat, your chicken, your fish, your eggs, your beef, stuff that's easier for us to get our hands on is usually like carbs and fats. Okay. So, any way you can increase your protein, usually I see people do well. So
when I'm being lazy, I decrease the amount of protein and carbs because I'm going on a self-imposed calorie restriction because I'm not putting a physical load on myself. But I will tell you, if I put a physical load on myself, I am 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
Yeah.
Is that too much?
I don't think so. As long as you don't have any kidney issues, I like to tell people, hey, take your weight in times of body. And this is a really hot debated topic, and I'm basing this from my nutrition class, but I tell people 0.75, 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of weight. And I usually tell people to lean on that 0.75 because they're not like them just trying to do that. They're like, holy smokes,
That's a lot for some people.
Yeah. And it's kind of walking before you're running. So, but 1 gram is, an ideal place. And in my opinion, if you were to overeat on anything, I'd rather see you overeat on protein. And when I see people focus on protein, you know what they do? They end up not overeating on other stuff.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So and protein is going to help you sustain your muscle. It's going to help with, energy, recovery. I mean, I've had people this is what I usually tell people when they come in. I talk to them about protein first and tell them to just focus on that and not get overwhelmed with the other stuff. And it's like, you see all this stuff.
Good advice.
Fall into place. And then of course they're going to cross a place, somewhere where they plateau out and we need to look at some other stuff, but it's just a great place to start.
I love that. I love how you talk to people about protein because protein really is kind of the building block. So I've got picky eaters in my house. I've got 3. I've got a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and they're pretty picky. Is your 2.5-year-old picky?
He's really picky.
So how do you get your kid to eat protein, or does he eat it?
To even specialize more, he's picky, and then he's very picky when it comes to protein. I mean, when we feed him eggs, he's gagging, so he doesn't even eat them. So what we do is we make protein pancakes. We'll get Greek yogurt, put protein in the Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt's got a good base of protein already. This stuff, he loves this stuff. We're going through that phase.
Have you fed him this?
Oh yeah.
He'll drink this? Well, okay. I might have to buy that from you before we leave if I don't open it myself. What is your opinion about, I don't know if this is true. I have no data set to back this up. Okay, I'm just going to throw this out.
Yeah.
So in my readings over the past few years, this idea of the order in which you eat makes a big difference. So for example, imagine a situation in which they wake up every single morning and the from concentrate orange juice. Okay, I'm talking about just like, I don't believe that the from concentrate orange juice is the same thing as the juice from an orange.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's the same thing. And I don't believe that if you eat an actual orange, I don't believe that's the same thing as going to the from concentrate orange juice that you can get at the grocery store. But what do you think about somebody eating for 2 weeks straight? They go and eat, or they drink orange juice, like that really like high sugar, high acid. It tastes so good. It's like candy.
It does. Yeah,
it tastes like a liquid. I don't even know what, like a liquid Jolly Rancher. It's so good. My kids go crazy. We don't have that stuff in the house.
Yeah.
But whenever we go someplace, my kids go crazy over all the stuff because we don't have soda, pop. We don't have any sugar. My kids. It's Valentine's Day, and I don't understand how the schools. I love my school. I love all the schools in Quincy, every single one of them. But I don't understand how they're like giving so much sugar to the kids. Like sugar's not right. Refined sugar's bad.
Yeah.
Like all like the white sugar and the refined stuff in the candy, it's so bad. It's causing inflammation. It's causing disease.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's killing people, and the schools are. We just got finished with Christmas. All the Christmas candy's gone. Now it's Valentine's Day. And you know what? They're going to eat all the Valentine's Day candy until we get to Easter. And then it's going to be Easter. All of my kids' candy comes from the schools. Like, I just think it's a wild thing. What do you think people should eat if they're going to eat breakfast in the morning? What do you think people should eat? And do you think that the order in which you eat it matters? So, for example, if they eat protein first,
Yeah.
and then they go to a clean carb like white rice,
Yeah.
and then they hit the vegetable, let's say some sautéed broccoli,
Yeah.
and then they eat something sugary for dessert. Do you think that matters?
I do, and I'll give you my take on that. And the reason why I think it matters, so one, if someone was to eat something in the morning, I'd tell them to like focus on protein. Okay, have a good base of protein. But the reason why I think that matters is I encourage people to eat your protein first. Okay, because when it comes time to, okay, I'm gonna get a dessert at the end. Well, you're probably a lot fuller, so you won't overindulge. Or, let me rephrase: you'd be less likely to overeat on, whatever candy or sweet thing. That's my take on it. Yeah, and we're going through that with my son. He's obsessed with candy right now. He's got his hands on some. At one point he was getting more than we probably want him to have, and we're going through potty training right now, and we've cut back because that's kind of been a bargaining chip for potty training. Like, hey, do you want some M&Ms, buddy? And
is that your currency? Our M&Ms? I love that. Ours was Cheez-Its.
That's a good one,
and
too.
And then once, who makes Cheez-Its? I cannot think of who makes it. Who makes them? Anyway, do you remember a number of years ago when they came out with toasted Cheez-Its?
It's funny. I just bought some of those.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Yep.
So my kids found out. So I don't really like the toasted Cheez-Its as much as like the regular Cheez-Its. If you take a look at the ingredients of that, oh my gosh, it's not good. None of it is good. None of it in there is good. It's not going to stop me from eating it from time to time. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we have a box of Cheez-Its stashed somewhere in the house because that's the currency that we use for our kids. But yours are M&Ms.
M&Ms, yeah, and he does not forget. I think, 2 nights ago, my wife was putting him to bed, and he went potty before bed, and she forgot to give him his M&Ms, and in bed he was hollering for him, and he woke up the next morning. He's like, where's my M&Ms from the night before?
Unbelievable. I feel like everybody has some kind of currency in the form of candy. Like E.T., his was Reese's Pieces, okay? But everybody, I feel like, has something. So, like my kids are Cheez-Its, and I think my dad, his are gummy bears.
We went through a gummy phase. Our son, he would wake up saying, I need gummies first thing in the morning. We're like, okay, you're getting too many gummies, buddy. You don't need gummies first thing in the morning. So
do you ever try this with your kid? They'll want something like that, and I'll say, okay, so here's the deal. You can have 1, 2, or 3 of those. Which ones do you want? And they go, 3. I mean, because if I didn't say 3, they'd eat 27.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you get 1 of them, 2 or 3, and then, it's the illusion of free will just like everything else.
Hey, that's a great idea. No, I haven't. I like that. I'm going to have to use that one. So.
Oh, yeah. Just be like, all right, so here's the deal. You're all M&M'd out. I'll tell you what, I'll break the rule. I know when's dinner. Your mom's going to be really mad, but I'll tell you what, you can have 1, 2, or 3. You just choose.
I like that.
And I mean, if he keeps on choosing one, you might want to go get him checked.
Yes.
So question for you. How do you feel about the old school food pyramid? So the old school food pyramid at the bottom was just, oh my goodness, it was like grains.
Yeah.
And as you move up, I don't know exactly, I'm trying to picture the food pyramid, but do you think it's upside down?
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I'm trying to picture it too. I remember grains being at the bottom. I would say just shooting off the hip, and boy, I haven't looked at it in a while, and that kind of sounds bad with as much as I'm in nutrition.
No, it's fine.
I just have, I know what I kind of believe in, and that's how I kind of coach people. But yeah, I would, I would have that protein. I'd have protein at the top, and when I say protein, I'm not saying powders. I'm talking chicken, fish, eggs, beef, stuff like that, and really people building their meals. So, I don't tell people to do carnivore, but I think having a good meat or a good protein source is like probably one of the most important things.
So again, you did it again, which I'm so appreciative that you are saying this. You're saying that people should actually eat chicken, fish, other meat, but your store seems to be so good. Again, if they're going to eat something, if they're going to go out and eat I'm just going to say some kind of ice cream out of the frozen food section.
Yeah.
What you're saying is just choose something like this that we tried. Try that. So to get more protein in, I love that. And so again, back to like the potato chips. I love potato chips.
Yeah.
Okay. People who don't like them, I think they're a little sus. I think people should stay away from people because it's like maybe you're not human.
Yeah.
You know. But something like this is, I just love the fact that you've got so many really neat options for people on the go, and it's almost like if you eat a really raw food kind of a diet, a protein-based diet, and then you supplement with these really fun things.
Yeah.
You can strip candy and other junk out of your diet completely and just stock your pantries and your fridge with these way healthier items.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. And again, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but the nutrition class I went through, the guy that he was the original owner, his name was John Berardi, and his just mindset is like, hey, what's a better take on everything? Not being, what I enjoy about him is like I follow him on social media, and just here recently he posted his meals that he eats, and the guy's in great shape, but it's not like this super bland, boring thing. It's this colorful plate full of different fruits and vegetables, and he's got his protein source on there, and he's really just. It's about what's a little bit better version than something unhealthy, and then you just keep building on that.
So when someone comes in your store, I'm going to put this right up to your.
Yeah, go ahead.
When someone comes in your store, and they say something like, "Hey, I've been wanting to come in here for a while, and I'm just not. I feel fine. It's whatever. There's things in my life that I want to change. Yeah. I want to feel better. I want to eat better." What do you tell the average person? Because so are you ever struck between? So making a sale is one thing. Because I'm in business too.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to sell, but I feel like, I'll tell you right now, if you left this out for someone, all of this sells itself, because I can see the ingredients and how healthy and how good it tastes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, GNC back in the day, they had things like this, and it did not taste like.
No,
it was not. It was not as heavily evolved as this.
Yeah,
I know it's not, and I've never had ice cream like this before. You really treated me this first time. But what do you say to somebody that would come into your store and just say, "Tyler Hall, help me"?
Yeah.
What's the first thing that you would say?
Honestly, I love that question, and what I say is I bombard them with questions, okay? And going back to them from a sales standpoint, like I just want to help people, and then the other stuff will come later, okay? So like I never want to take advantage and sell somebody something extra. I kind of look at it as, okay, hey, if I do them a favor here, I'm sure it'll come back in the future, okay? But questions I'm going to ask, I always say it this way. I look for low-hanging fruit, okay? So I start asking them a bunch of questions. Hey, what are you drinking, okay? Are you working out, okay? Do you track your steps? And how much water are you drinking? And then I start, again, I call that low-hanging fruit. So I'll use my mom as an example. A couple of years ago, she wanted to lose some weight, and basically I was like, hey, what are you drinking? And she started telling me all this stuff: some juice in the morning, a little bit of soda throughout the day, or a couple sodas, and then some sweet tea at the end of the night. And I'm like, oh boy, there's 500, 600, 700 calories right here, okay? That's the difference between her being in a deficit and a surplus. So we started reducing those, and she lost like 30 pounds in a year, okay? So that's what I call low-hanging fruit. Changing that, I don't think is going to shock them, or reducing that, and I don't think they'll see progress. Same with the steps. Okay, we launched a challenge this year, and the challenge was all about bringing people together, but also giving them some basic stuff they can do to be healthier. One thing I talk about it in is it's called NEAT, non-exercise thermogenesis. So basically, burning calories without working out, okay? That includes parking farther in the parking lot, okay? Taking the stairs versus the elevator. That stuff racks up at the end of the day. So I like to go ask people, like, hey, how many steps are you getting in? And, and if they're not getting a lot, just start walking more. That was the thing me and my mom, had my mom do, just get more steps in. And then, boy, I've beat it up today a lot, but protein, I'll ask that a lot. I'm like, hey, how much protein are you eating?
Do you find that people do not move enough and are in a constant protein deficit?
Yeah, I do. Like, especially movement. Think about it. There's a good movement, okay, for the health and fitness industry. So what I mean by that is people are being more conscious. There's people supporting each other. They're making better choices. But also our just everyday lifestyle is like making us more sedentary. Okay, think about it. Like I'm sitting at my house and my remote stops working, and I'm annoyed that I have to get up and change the channel. Okay, so that's what I'm talking. I'm getting less steps in. So I think people are just less active, and I think any way you can be more active can really pay off.
Last question. When you see a muscle-bound man or woman walk in and they're so happy, maybe they just moved to Quincy.
Yeah.
And, they just found a gym and, they do the quick look on their phone and they're like, okay, there's a nutrition HQ. Okay, this is not far from my house because when you live in Quincy, everything's 15 minutes or less. And they walk in, they're so happy to be there. And they say to you, give me something to supplement my healthy diet. Where do you go with them? Do you go through the whole thing about like protein? How much protein are you getting? Do you give them protein supplements? Do you give them the creatine? Do you give them the HMB? Is HMB still a thing?
Yeah, HMB is it's doing really well.
It's still doing well?
You
okay.
Bet.
What's your favorite supplement in addition to a healthy diet for a guy or gal that is wanting to maintain their muscle mass or maybe increase it a little bit?
I would probably say creatine. If they're not using creatine, that's where I would go. Another just overall health supplement that we're doing extremely well right now, and you've mentioned Rogan. You always hear him talking about AG1. We have a product called Vitagreens. It's like it's the same concept as AG1. So it's just designed to help fill nutritional gaps, okay? So when you talk about someone eating vegetables, and we always say greens, a lot of us are not eating a good variety, okay? So I say eat the rainbow. And what I mean by that is going through my nutrition class, we have this rainbow of all the different colors of fruits and vegetables, which have different nutrient profiles. A lot of us are not getting a good variety. So this is designed to help fill those gaps. And then you can, to me it sounds like, based on our conversation, you've done a decent amount of research, or you like nutrition quite a bit. I'm sure you've heard people talk about gut health. So a lot of these green supplements will have stuff to support gut health, okay? So helping you break down, absorb your food, utilize it, reduce bloating, and I'm sure you've seen like the links between like gut health and like energy levels, even, I want to say they're trying to show some stuff with like depression, cognitive benefits. Like if your gut is messed up, then it can really throw off your health.
We could do an entire podcast on the microbiome of the gut.
Yeah.
And I love how you talked about the color, the rainbow.
Uh-huh.
It reminds me of a Skittles commercial, but it's this idea of all the different colors of the fruits and vegetables, those bioflavonoids.
Yeah.
Every single color means something.
Yeah.
And is a different, those bioflavonoids, or if it's a carrot, if it's a carotenoid, like the beta carotene inside a carrot, all of those colors go into the body and go to different organs and support different tissue systems. And it's amazing what God did. He went in there, he goes, I'm going to make it super colorful. I'm going to make green peppers this way. I'm going to make carrots, plums, apples, different colors apples. And that's the whole idea of like when you're cutting apples for kids, don't cut the skin off out of those Granny Smiths or those Washingtons or those Jonathan apples. Leave the skins on because that's where a lot of the good stuff is.
Yep. It's fun. I don't know, going through my nutrition class, kind of keep referencing, and I don't want to keep us over here, so we need to get off, but just certain vegetables and stuff, there's better ways to eat them to get the most nutrients out of them. Like, and I'm drawing a blank, of course, which ones, but like some you don't want to cook, you want to eat them raw.
Yes.
If you cook them, you can damage the nutrients, or they're better cooked. So it was a pretty interesting thing kind of going through.
Or even, I've read recently that juicing is not anywhere close as good as the energy that it takes to take a piece of fruit and consume it raw. Because when you juice it, it actually is changing some of the chemical properties.
Yeah.
The friction of it, and then also the idea of there's something that happens if you're actually going through the effort of using I think it's called mandibular, when you're like chewing something, mastication, the art of mastication of those specific colorful fruits and vegetables. It's doing something. The work that you put in is actually the energy transfer goes in your body. It's even more digestible.
Yep.
And that's such a wild thing because you think, oh, no. I'll just get, something and I'll blend everything together. It's real easy and I'll suck it down and I'm getting the same thing. It's like, no, you got to put in the work. Tyler, I'm so happy you came here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Maybe we'll come back sometime and talk about microbiome.
Hey, yeah, that'd be fun. I love talking.
And
nutrition.
what's the address of Nutrition HQ?
Yeah, so 3712 Broadway Street next to Hy-Vee. So just right next to Hy-Vee, UPS store, kind of tucked in across from Target. So.
All right. Well, you're going to see me soon.
Awesome, man. Come on
Thanks.
by.
Bye.
Thank you.